Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to do another small project. I want to know, this is my 2004 Pontiac Bonneville GXP, and it currently has a headliner that is touching your face as you're going down the road, and it drives me nuts. So I got a quote of $1,200 to redo the headliner in this car, but I recently found out that Hobby Lobby sells headliner material. So I want to know if $42 worth of headliner material and a $20 can of 3M adhesive will work just as well as a $1,200 professional install. Now, I am not a professional, so take all of this information with a grain of salt. It may work, it may not, but there might be a couple of tips and tricks in there that help you out. So let's get started. I'm going to start ripping some of the stuff out and give you kind of some heads up of what you might run into when it takes, some of the trim and that kind of stuff off. Luckily, this car has a sunroof, so that might actually help, especially for that center console thing that's up here. So some cars have it, some cars don't. But hopefully this helps you out in some way, shape, or form. Like I said, it probably isn't the right way to do it, but I'm not going to spend $1,200 for a new headliner. So let's get started, find out what happens. Getting started, you can see that I actually set the seats all the way back instead of just pulling the interior out. But you can tell how terrible the headliner really is. And to get started, what you want to do is try and locate all your trim screws or anything that might be attached to the roof. Getting out all the handles and A and B and C pillars. Working forward, you can see I've got the center console out, and this actually, if you because it's a sunroof car, you can pull that center piece down and kind of finagle that center section out a little bit better. From there, we move on to the visors, and being sure to drop every screw that comes out of the ceiling, of course. This one actually is pretty neat because on the back of the headliner, on the very top, is the entire wiring harness. So you just unplug it here in the back, and it comes right out. And you can see from the photos here of how that kind of looks when the headliner's out. Makes it very easy. Getting the headliner out itself in one piece is a little bit tricky, but again, if you set the seats back, you can usually maneuver it in and out pretty well. They are a little bit flexible. Woohoo! I get started in one corner and just start peeling the material back, and as oddly satisfying as it is, it's fun to rip it apart. Vacuuming up the mysterious glue that holds the headliner to the fiberboard is terrible to try and remove. I just use this shop vac to try and get the bulk of it out. And after doing this for quite some time and realizing how time consuming it was, I decided to try another route, and that was to take my rubber backed cut resistant gloves and just trying to rub that material off. And this worked really, really well, because once you get that fiberboard clean, you just take your shop vac and you just vacuum up the big chunks like this here, and it worked way, way better and was far less time consuming. And from here you can see we have a very clean slate to work with. Once it's all cleaned up, I just start laying down the material, trying to figure out where all the holes and notches need to go, where we can start applying our glue. I just used 3M headliner glue that I got at an auto parts store, and just worked one corner at a time and laid it flat. Here we're going to start the glue process of laying down glue material on repeat, and making slight adjustments as we go. It's a little bit tedious, but it gets the job done and keeps it as flat as possible. Once we had the material down, I cut all the holes out for the sunroof, the grab handles, any of the B and C pillars that have notches in them for the trim. It's a lot of back and forth with it, making sure that it's as level as possible, and me being OCD, it took some time, but you can see here with the sunroof open, I've got most of the holes and stuff cut out for some of the trim. Around the sunroof, I'm not really, I tried to mimic the factory, the way it was cut. I don't think I did that great of a job. For most people it would probably be fine, but those slots should actually be a little bit smaller. Here we're cutting the holes for the grab handles on the side, and it's a little bit nerve-wracking cutting into brand new material, but you don't have to be perfect with it because a lot of the trim covers a lot of that up. So you just need to make sure that the handles or whatever goes into the headliner lines up. Here it is, day 2. I let this dry overnight to make sure that when I'm moving it around, that it doesn't, come unglued or anything like that. It's not perfect. I mean, I'll be first to admit I'm a very picky person. And it's not perfect by any means. However, it is a lot better than what it was. There's a couple of little wrinkles and stuff in it, but compared to it touching it in the face, I think I would rather have this. I've got all the holes and stuff mostly cut out for your grab handles, and then this is that center console section. So let's see if we can get it back in the car. I've got all the doors open, and see if we can't scoot this in there. And again, you got to lean your seat back. They say to pull the seat out, but I just put it all the way back because they actually fold pretty flat. And pardon my mess in here. It's kind of messy from taking the headliner out. So let's see if we can get this thing back in there. Tip, if you got a car with a sunroof, go through and check all these drain hoses. This is the #1 cause for leaks. So if this is looking a little dry or not quite on there, just double check all these. There should be one. Most of the cars have them on all 4 corners. So there's one in the back, one in the front, that side, and back there somewhere. There we go. So just a quick tip. While you're in here, you might as well look at them. Here is another quick tip too. I was just getting ready to put this back in the car when I realized that there are a couple of spots where it looked like something was missing. And as it turns out, there's these little magnets up here. It would focus. But the magnets hold that up there. So I'm actually going to hot glue these back in place. You can see where there's a couple of spots where they're missing. So this little guy just kind of chills right there. So just a heads up before you put this back in to look for stuff like that. And like this stuff here, that should, of course, it's no longer sticky. So we'll glue this as well. I'm just going to use a standard hot glue gun, much like they did in the factory. If it lasted 20 years before, it should last another 20 this time, hopefully. Yeah. pretty much what they did at the factory. Close enough. All right, we got it out this way. Let's see if we can get it back in this way. This time I have to be a little bit more gentle. Let's see here. What's the best way to do this? Okay. A little squeaky. All right. And it's in. It was a squeeze, but luckily they're somewhat flexible. I hate to know what the underside of that looks like now, but it's in. So let's get it buttoned up. Here is the final product. Is it perfect? No. Is it worth the effort? Absolutely. Looks a lot better. There's a couple of spots where it's a little wrinkled, and I didn't do the visor, so those are still a little bit baggy, but definitely a lot better than it was. Whew. Why I picked the hottest date of the year to do this project, I'm not really sure, but it's toasty. So what are my final thoughts on this project? It's actually really easy. If you have any sort of common sense, you like working on little things, I recommend doing this. Like I said, when I first got a quote done on redoing the headliner, a couple of places, $1,200 was about the average cost. With the adhesive, the headliner material, I got 2 yards. This is a full-size car, so 2-3 yards is going to be more than enough. I think I have $57 wrapped up in the entire project. So, you know, a couple little hints here and there. You know, you want to make sure you don't lose any of your screws for, you know, your visors or anything like that. But for a car that's probably worth $5,000, this is a perfect result. I'm very happy with it. So hopefully you found this video a little bit helpful, especially for your project. But please stay tuned. I have more videos coming out. But I hope you like this video and hopefully it helps. So until next time, we'll see you shortly.